All right, do we have? I don't know why I have mine. You ready? I won't bang the gavel until it's ready. Let me call to order the June meeting of the Tennessee Board of Regents and start by thanking Dr. McCamey and his team for the great hospitality that has been exhibited during this visit, but also for the very informative presentation that we just had an opportunity to receive. I sincerely appreciate, and I'm quite sure all of my colleagues share the same as it relates to the hospitality and the work that has gone into this meeting. And for those of you on this campus, you have a lot to be proud of, as do a number of our facilities across the state. But I sincerely appreciate all the time and effort that went into putting this on, because while we get to see this portion of it, a lot went on behind the scenes to make it happen, and I just want you to know that we appreciate that. Also, if the elected officials and others who were here earlier are still here, I appreciate your taking time from your schedule to be with us, because it underscores the importance of higher ed to our community and the emphasis that you place on that as well. Yesterday, during our committee meetings, we had 4 representatives from the faculty and students who participated in those committee meetings. I'm not sure if any of them are here today. However, we had Dr. Eccles, Mrs. Stevers, Mr. Edmonds, as well as Mrs. Curtin, who sat in on those meetings, and we appreciate the time that they gave to our committee meetings yesterday. With that being said, Chancellor, unless there are any comments that you would like to make at this time, I would call on our Secretary, Mary Moody, to call the roll.
Regent Copeland. Here. Regent Duckett.
Here.
Regent Ferris.
Here.
Regent Freeman.
Here.
Regent Griscom.
Here.
Regent Huffman. Regent Humphrey.
Here.
Regent Johnson.
Here.
Regent Kisber. Regent Markham. Here. Regent Montgomery.
Here.
Regent Raines.
Here.
Regent Reynolds.
Here.
Regent Rhoda. Regent Roddy.
Here.
Regent Thomas.
Here.
Regent Varlin.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. First item on the agenda is a presentation from the Road Builders Association, and I would call on Mr. Bo Roberts for that presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of you have been here when we've come here before to say thank you to the Board of Regents. This is a great example of a public-private partnership. This program started by the Tennessee Road Builders Association and the road builders across Tennessee, and then very quickly were able to couple with important parts of the Tennessee Board of Regents. And that collaboration combined with the funds from TRBA and funds from the Governor's Highway Safety Office and some other grants and donations we've had make this program be one of the most successful in the country. Let me mention about TRBA and why we think it's so important. Next slide. When I say thank you, because generally you're involved, this is almost like the chicken and the egg. I mean, the ham and the eggs. You're more, as much of the ham almost as the eggs. Tennessee Tech University, through their Business Media Center, is the actual operator of this program under contract. They receive the grants from the Governor's Highway Safety Office, and they just do a marvelous job. And their research and their technical ability to take this program and spread it has just been amazing. Very early on, we knew that volunteers were going to be very important to operating this program. So we have more than 1,100 volunteers across the state of Tennessee who are involved on a regular basis. Every one of these volunteers has to qualify. They have to be trained, and they go to the Regents online training program, which you provide without any cost to them, fortunately, because they are volunteers. And so all these have been trained by your online program that the Media Center is also very heavily involved in. And then the technology centers. Early on, we had a presentation, and you'll hear more about this in a moment, to the directors of the Technology Center with Chancellor, Vice Chancellor James King. And they quickly said, we want to be a part of this. And they are more than just a part of this. More than a third of the children who've gone through this program, and you'll see the numbers in just a moment, have come through the Tennessee Technology Centers. And it's really what brings us together for this occasion, is for us to recognize specifically the outstanding work of the Tennessee Technology Centers. And I understand, dropping in here yesterday, that next year I guess it'll be TCAT that will be honoring rather than TTCs, but they really do an outstanding job. And so it's this collective involvement from the Board of Regents that we want to say thank you, and say that we hope that this will continue. We see no reason why it can't. But what's it meant? We've been involved now 6 years in this program. Let's go to the numbers. What's been accomplished? Well, these are some of the numbers. Nearly 500,000 Tennessee children have individually been a part of this program and have literally touched or high-fived Ollie as a part of this program over the past 6 years. This fall, this September, we're planning, working with the governor's office, and we plan in the Capitol with the governor to have a commemoration and a celebration of that number reaching 500,000. It should happen pretty early in December. So a pretty major milestone of something that has truly reached out. We see over 26,000 classrooms, over nearly 1,700 schools across this have experienced this. And what it is a program that comes in, and we use a character, and it's a lot of fun, and the children interact and they love it, but a very serious message. And then the important thing is that message getting across. Well, there's a lot of research that goes on behind the scenes and is a part of this program. It's not just a have fun. Ollie is fun, and you'll meet him in a little bit, and we all enjoy it, but it's there for a purpose and a reason. I'd like to call on Kevin Liska, who's the director of the Business Media Center at Tennessee Tech, just to give you a couple of words about some research and some results of what this program has meant.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. This slide that's coming up here, the next slide, shows from the Governor's Highway Safety Office data in 2007, when this program started, is the top map. County by county, this is the number of children that were restrained from actual crashes, in actual crash data. So it's not just made up data. If there's a real crash, the number represents how many kids were actually in their booster seats or seatbelts when that crash occurred. And you can see from the shading from 2007 to 2012, there's substantial improvement. I can remember in 2007 when we first started, the Business Media Center at Tech had just finished doing a CD-ROM for the Technology Center statewide. And so we knew that the Technology Centers had automotive technologies and healthcare education. And we thought, what a natural fit to get them involved in statewide in traffic safety. So we went to a director's meeting, and I can remember like yesterday, Ralph Robbins, who's in the audience today, Director Ralph Robbins, raised his hand, stood up, and said, I make a motion that we take this program on and we take it on statewide. And if we save one life, it's worth it. I remember that, 2007. I'm here to tell you that we have documented cases from the Tennessee Highway Patrol that we have saved multiple lives. And in addition to that, we have moved the numbers so significantly that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration tells us that if you increase occupant protection, you prevent injuries and save lives. So this program has had considerable impact, and it is the role of the technology centers statewide that has helped this, and it is the help of Dr. Robbie Melton with her online learning to help us bring on board the thousands of volunteers to make this truly a statewide program. For example, to highlight some of the shading, if I go to Scott County, in 2007, Scott County had 82% of the kids in crashes were restrained. That went up to 97% in 2012 after 16 Ollie Otter presentations over those years. So you can go look and you'll see some data later on some of the other impact winners. It's true data, it's moving the needle, and it really has been an incredible help from the involvement of the technology centers. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. And what we're dealing with here, and this is a message that we talk about quite often, is the number one health problem for children between the ages 5 and 14. That automobile and truck accidents are the number one killer. It's more than cancer and diabetes and several other diseases combined. Those are serious, and sometimes they're diagnosed. There's no diagnosis for a crash that may occur. So we're dealing with a very important health situation. This is the number one health problem. And when this program started, every program has to have a start somewhere. And you all have met this lady. And it was her inspiration, and her family suffered 3 close losses within a year's time. And when her husband became president of the road builders, Johnny Coleman, she became president of the Ladies Auxiliary and said, you know, I want to do something. We ought to do something. And so that's something that she kind of kowtowed and coerced the TRBA to say, well, we got to do something for Carol over here. So they started this little thing they started has now reached 400, let's go back to the slides, 482,000 children and over 26,000 classrooms, and has saved multiple lives. Ladies and gentlemen, the inspiration, the founder and current chairman of the Ollie Otter Child Safety Foundation out of the Road Builders, Carol Coleman.
Thank you, Bo. And thank you once again for allowing us, the Tennessee Road Builders, to share this program with you. And you have played an important role in this, and I just personally want to thank you for that. But we're here today to celebrate and to honor the great job your technology centers do for the children of Tennessee. Today we have a special award that we'd like to present. As Kevin mentioned, the statement made by Ralph Robbins at our very first presentation to the technology centers nearly 7 years ago. And as you know, Ralph is retiring, and we want to thank him for his leadership from the very beginning. Ralph, would you please come forward so we can present you with this special award? Ralph's a dear friend of mine and has been for years, and we first went to the technology center, and Ralph said, yeah, I'll help. And that's how it started, and that's how we got volunteers from the Technology Center. Ralph, thank you. It said this award is presented to Ralph Robbins in recognition of your commitment to the safety education of the children of Tennessee and ongoing support of the Ollie Otter program. Thank you. So now we've all been talking about Ollie. So I want you to meet Ollie. So come on in, Ollie. So this is the furry otter that all the children see. They love him, and they can't wait to see him year after year. Are you going to do the physical?
All righty.
The kids not only high-five, but Ollie gets all kinds of hugs. Sometimes we have to restrain some of the children. They really want to hug Ollie. But now another main reason that we're here is to present the award to the most outstanding TC performance during the past year. This year's top 3 are the TTC from Athens, and the TTC from Nashville, and the TTC from Newbern. And on the slide, you can see how many schools presentations and how many children they reached. So would you all come down, the directors of those schools, please? Congratulations to all of you, and as you can see, what a great job they've done this year. And all will get an award, but the 2013 Ollie Award, once again, goes to Newbern.
Danny, they want me to the front.
While we're getting a few photos, again, we want to say thank you and congratulations to these outstanding performances and to the cooperation of all the Tennessee Board of Regents. Thank you all very much.
Greg, you have to put that one in your office. On the wall. Yeah.
Thanks, Darrell. Yes. Regent Thomas.
Yeah, Carol and they've left, but I think all Tennesseans need to be aware that the father of child restraints in the entire United States came from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Dr. Bob Sanders was the impetus to have child restraint laws across this country, and I'm sorry they left before I made that announcement, but Dr. Bob Sanders from Murfreesboro, he was, I think, county chairman of the health department, started the effort to do this, and I think this program has certainly saved a lot of children's lives. That's all.
Thank you, Regent Thomas. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Materials were presented, that will be presented under today's consent agenda have been made available to all of the regents. As you are aware, by use of our consent agenda, we dispense with the reading of the minutes. Today, we will have the opportunity to ratify without discussion all items that are on the consent agenda. However, if any member has the desire to discuss any item that is on the consent agenda and want it removed from the consent agenda, please let us know now. If not, we will proceed. I would remind the members that there are 3 items that will not be on the consent agenda. That is the reports from the June 20th, 2013 Finance and Business Operations Committee, the Personnel and Compensation Committee, the Tennessee Technology Centers Committee. Those items will be taken up under new business. These reports include action to approve the tuition and maintenance fees for 2013-2014, approval of the funding for operations for 2013-2014, approval of the faculty promotional increases, approval of the system compensation plan recommendation, cost of living allowance, and the recommendation for the new director at TTC Livingston. Items under today's consent agenda are: first, minutes of the March 29th, 2013 quarterly board meeting, report of interim action, report of the following committees: academic policies and programs, business, community, and public affairs, and the audit committee report. Is there a motion to? Moved by Regent Freeman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Regent Thomas. Any discussion? That requires a voice vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The same. Thank you. Next item is the report of the Regents Award in Excellence in Philanthropy. I call on Regent Reynolds for that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a special pleasure today to acknowledge our recently presented Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy that was given to Randy Boyd of Knoxville. He was nominated by President Anthony Wise of Pellissippi State Community College. Mr. Boyd, of course, is no stranger to our board and to many of you in this room, and we all know how generously he has given of his time and talent and resources in so many ways to Pellissippi, and his passion for higher education in Tennessee. He has changed the lives, though, of countless students with a group that he formed in 2009, Tennessee Achieves, a not-for-profit last dollar scholarship program that also incorporates mentoring for students as well. He has been a motivational voice for business and industry partnerships with higher education, especially given his many contacts in the business world and his success as both a businessman and a role model for all of us in civic participation. So it's no surprise that earlier this year, the governor named Randy as a special advisor for higher education, and all of us have had the pleasure to get to know him a little bit and work with him in these important endeavors. So once again, it's a special pleasure to acknowledge today that Randy Boyd is the most recent recipient of our Regents Award. And at this time, since my fellow Regent Danny Varlin was able to be part of the presentation, and President Wise unfortunately cannot be with us today, I would love to call on Regent Varlin to add a few words about this very special Tennessean.
Thank you so much, Regent Reynolds. It's a pleasure to, although Randy's not here, I hope he gets to hear at some point what I have to say about him. In Knoxville, Randy's known as the dog guy because he owns Pet Safe, but more than that, he generously gives to our community in the way of dog parks, and not just our community, but outside of our community. And we have the best dog parks of any city in Tennessee, and my dog likes to be there too. In fact, I saw him recently, and I had a picture of my big old boxer June at the dog park looking at a little black baby pig who was also at the dog park. And my dog's going, bacon, and that little pig, it was the funniest. He goes, that's a pig? And I said, yeah, that's a pig. So many different animals enjoy this dog park, but he's so generous. He started Tennessee Achieves in Knoxville, and it was such a great success that the governor asked him to take it out to Tennessee, and it has done wonders to allow people to have that last dollar scholarship and get to school. But I think, words I think of that describe Randy, he is so generous, not only with his money, but with his time and with his heart. He is just totally a heart guy. He's also a tremendously creative thinker. There isn't even a box in sight of Randy. He thinks of things, and he's definitely a big idea person, but what makes him special as well is that he understands the details. It's kind of easy to be a big idea person when you don't have to think about the details. But the devil is in the details, if many of you know, and that's what I appreciate so much about him. He understands the importance of that. He also understands the importance of once you have this big idea, you've got to be able to make a decision and move forward. And he definitely is a person that gets it done. And I think that in his new role with the state of Tennessee, he's probably really put some people in surprise in terms of like, well, why can't we just go do this? And those of you that work for the state or any government entity know why you just can't go do this. It takes a little while. So I'm sure he's been a big breath of fresh air. So I want to congratulate Randy. And if you don't know him, have an opportunity to meet him because he's definitely one of a kind. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my friend.
Well said.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Reynolds, as well as Regent Varlin, and also congratulations to Randy Board. And I'm quite sure everyone here who knows him, in fact, know that he is very deserving of the award. And for those who don't, I also look forward to you having a chance to get to know him. But thanks for the excellent report. Next, we will have the report of the Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll try to be brief, but there are really three things actually I want to visit with you about for just a minute. The first is, for the last several meetings now, we've taken some time during the meeting to talk about strategies that are being employed at the Board of Regents to try to move forward on the completion agenda and are being coordinated with, or at least coordinated through the completion delivery unit that Vice Chancellor Wendy Thompson is responsible for. She is not here today, but nevertheless, we do want to talk a little bit about our online learning activities. One of the 9 strategies that the board has identified as being key central office, TBR office strategies, is improving the use and effectiveness of online education. We've just heard some information about what happens at this institution, what is happening at this institution, perhaps more importantly, what is going to happen at this institution going forward. But that's true really all across our system. Each of our institutions are actively engaged in online learning activities, but also at the system level. As we noted last night, Jack Fishman, when he was on this board, and others pushed very hard to move the Tennessee Board of Regents into the online world through the Regents Online Campus Collaborative. Back, I guess, about 12 years ago now is when that became operational, something like that. And in fact, Tennessee was a leader, which is a good place to be. But Tennessee was a leader in developing online education at a system level across institutions and really remains at the forefront of that movement. However, as we talked at the retreat, there are now some new developments, and really, it's interesting to read the national press about MOOCs, massive open online courses, as though somehow online education is new and different. It's not at all. We've been doing it, but it is evolving. And what the MOOC movement represents is an evolution of online learning, perhaps to a bigger scale, perhaps using technology in a different and more effective way. And we at the Tennessee Board of Regents are actively engaged in looking at what those new opportunities may offer us to improve teaching and learning and student success. So we have, since the retreat, continued to talk very much with the involvement of Randy Boyd from the governor's office, and as Regent Barland said, he is a breath of fresh air. Sometimes we wish he'd hold his breath for just a couple of minutes and let us catch up with him, but he is pushing. He's asking those questions about, what if we did this? Could we do this? I saw this. Have we thought about that? And it has been a very valuable addition to us to help us think about why we do what we do and why we don't do some things that perhaps we could do. And in that vein, our conversations with Coursera. Coursera is one of the three, I guess, at least at this point, leading national MOOC providers. Our conversation with Coursera, I think we shared with you information back a few weeks ago. We have entered into an agreement with Coursera to, on a very limited pilot basis, use the Coursera platform to deliver content to our students in our institutions. It is a fairly narrow pilot, but it will give us the opportunity to bring 2 courses up this fall, we hope, if the production process can occur timely enough, to pilot the Coursera platform. Dr. Campbell mentioned earlier the analytic capability of a student using an iPad in the classroom for an assessment. The instructor, faculty member has immediate feedback. Well, the MOOC process, or the MOOC type courses that we'll offer, and they're not MOOCs at all, they're really SPOCs. Instead of massive open online, they're small private online courses. But it does allow instructors in very real time to understand how students are interacting with the course content, to understand immediate feedback of kind of what the most frequent wrong answer is, for example, which then gives the faculty member the ability to go back, look at the material and the content, and say, well, what's leading them to that answer versus the right answer? It really does create new opportunities for, we believe, new opportunities for improving outcomes. So we will do that. The chemistry course, an intro chemistry course for non-chemistry majors, and a college algebra course will be the first courses we offer using this technology. Those courses will be offered in a pure online format, but also in a hybrid. You heard Lori talk about hybrid. We will offer those courses in a hybrid format, perhaps through what is being termed now a distributed flip mode, where the same content is distributed to multiple classrooms, hopefully across multiple institutions, and really try to gauge what the potential value of this new tool is in terms of improving teaching and learning. So we're being deliberative, we're being thoughtful. We're really not interested, at least at this point, in using somebody else's courses to teach our students. We think we have faculty who can develop and have shown ability to develop as good a course as could be acquired anywhere. So we'll be using this as a pilot to explore what the potential of this evolving delivery technique is. We're also in conversations with edX, one of the other of the three kind of leading providers, and hopefully we will pursue a similar type small-scale pilot with them that we would anticipate wouldn't come up until the spring. We don't necessarily think there's enough time to kind of introduce a new technology or a new platform and provider before fall. But we'll be reporting back to you. And as I say, one of the great things about using this technique, we think, is you do have real-time feedback and are able to analyze results very quickly. So we should be in a position to give you interim reports as to how this experiment is going and where it may lead us in terms of a broader system-level effort using this newer type of online technology. We are one of several states who are pursuing this. We have kind of a loose affiliation now with those states, and it'll probably become a bit more formal in the coming months. But being able to learn from each other, and there is it is a rapidly evolving field, and we're excited to be part of that conversation and on the front end. Any questions about that aspect of my report? If not, two other things I'll mention briefly. I think as we noted at the committee chairs meeting a couple of weeks ago, we are toward the end of our search process for Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. Kay Clark has been serving as an interim now for about a year and has done an outstanding job of stepping in and dealing with some pretty extraordinary issues. And the good news is he'll still be around for a while, so we now know who to go to for these special thorny issues, so he'll become the expert in dealing with that. But we are close to a decision, and over the next week to 10 days, I think we'll be there, at which time we will call a special meeting to approve the choice. But the three finalists that have just completed, we just completed our interview process where I got to talk with the candidates. The senior staff at the board participated in a group interview with the candidate that was made available to the academic subcouncil, the faculty subcouncil, and the student affairs subcouncil for folks to hear and kind of get a feel for the candidates. Tristan Denley, who is the provost at Austin Peay State University, is one of the three. Gene Gerlach, who is the founding dean and current dean of the College of Education at the University of Texas, Arlington, and Mike Hillman, who is the vice chancellor for academic and student affairs at the North Dakota University System. All three, I think, extraordinarily competent and good candidates. It will be difficult to make a choice. We are in the process now of gathering feedback from the universe of folks who have had a chance to hear or talk with those candidates, so we'll be moving as quickly as possible to make that selection. I think I'm once again in a position of not being able to mess up badly because we have really good candidates, and that has been true so far with the searches that we have been able to do. The final thing I'll mention very briefly is over the next month or so, you may see, I hope you see some information about this. We have been cooperating with the Greater Nashville Chamber of Commerce now for a little over a year in exploring ways to try to bring together on a regional basis the right folks from business and industry with the right folks from our colleges, community colleges and colleges of applied technology to really begin to try to address in a sustained way the skills gap issue. You know, when the governor did his tour back over a year ago, invariably the conversation that he entered into with business leaders and others in the regions where he held meetings is that employers were having difficulty finding the right fit for the jobs that they had open. So, as that conversation has unfolded, the Nashville Chamber, Greater Nashville Chamber, did quite a bit of research within their region, trying to identify specifically those clusters where the most difficulty seemed to be occurring. And they discovered through the work they did that it was really about allied health, it was about advanced manufacturing, and it was about information technology. It comes as no surprise probably to anybody in this room that those are the areas that are most problematic. So what we are kicking off here in the next couple of weeks are something called the skills panels. And in each of these three areas, there will be a regionally representative group of employers from those clusters who will come together with the folks from our institutions who are actually doing and planning the training in those areas to try to build an infrastructure within which there is a continuing conversation about what are the competencies that we're having difficulty finding, what do we see happening over the next year, 2 or 5 in terms of how those competencies will change. Not talking so much about credential, but really talking about what is it that the people that we need to hire need to know and what do they need to do. And that should, we believe, inform our processes at the board and our institutions to develop curriculum, modify curriculum, or develop new programs that can really better meet the needs of those folks as they seek to hire. Every one of our institutions does that today. Those kinds of conversations take place every day. The difference here is we're trying to approach it on a regional basis to really provide what the region needs. You know, we have service areas, we have lines drawn on maps, but in today's economy, those lines have become much less relevant, and the need to really think collectively within economic regions about what the needs are and how we can best meet those needs is becoming more and more critical. So that's something you'll hear more about. Hopefully by September, we can come back and talk to you about the progress it's making and kind of what the early indications are. But that is my report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chancellor. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, that being the report of the presidents and directors. We will start first with the report from the Tennessee Technology Centers, and I would call on Director Brad White to make that report.
Vice Chairman Duckett, Regents, Chancellor Morgan. I'm not sure why Mr. King would have me up here after having Claire Blue up here yesterday and Ollie the Otter this morning. I'm afraid it may be a letdown. I was hoping that Sarah Stevers would be here. I was very interested in her background and to be a genetic counselor. I just had a new grandson Monday, and my question to her would be is how a son-in-law who wasn't good enough to marry my daughter could be the father of such a perfect child. Maybe she can, while she's working on her doctorate, answer that question. Ollie the Otter, of course, brought up Ralph again. The technology centers, well, it's like the man who saw his mother-in-law drive off a cliff in a new car. He had mixed emotions. And we have mixed emotions about Ralph leaving. We hate to see him go, but we are looking forward to I guess the new page at Livingston and the person coming in we'll hear about later. I'll try to cover just a few of the schools. I hope you'll read your technology news. I thought when they said I had 3 to 5 minutes, they meant per school, but they just meant all together, so I'll have to talk pretty fast. At TTC Athens, who was also mentioned with Ollie the Otter, we want to congratulate New Bern and Athens and Nashville for their work in that area. Athens also hosted Congressman Chuck Fleshman. Spent time with our automotive tech. He's trying to get a few pointers on automobile care. Athens also had a fundraiser for their scholarship and raised $25,000 from private donations, which was outstanding. Elizabethton, Dean Blevins, the director there, has been appointed to the Tennessee Advisory Council for Career and Technical Education by Governor Haslam. Dean has talked with this group many times. He'll be serving a 6-year term, and we know he'll be a strong voice for post-secondary career and technical education. We congratulate him. Hohenwald hosted Representative Marsha Blackburn to meet with the faculty and staff and talk about some of the issues that's affecting students at the school. One of the more interesting things I came across was TTC Memphis. Aviation student Darius Hooker participated in Team America Rocketry Challenge and was invited, along with his teammate Wesley Carter, to display their rocket for President Obama at the White House Science Fair this past April. There was only 30 asked to explain and display their rocketry challenge to the president. He was one of those, so we congratulate them. He's an aviation student at TTC Memphis. Nashville has recently opened up a campus at Springfield, 5,100 square foot building there, leased for $100 a year on a 5-year renewable lease. I'm going to talk to Mark to see if he can help me lease some pasture land. If he can, at $100 a year, I might need a little help with that. For a new program they're starting there. Also at Pulaski, they have opened the center at Spring Hill. New class designed to prepare students through theory and hands-on and service skills. I don't know if there's any correlation in Springfield and Spring Hill, but we know they're spring into action at these schools. And I'd like to, something that I guess caught me a little by surprise and maybe shouldn't have, and it's not in your newsletter, HVAC excellence. And so thankful that the air conditioning is working in here, and I know as we get out, we all appreciate that. There's an instructor, it has to be one of my instructors at McKenzie, Terry Wilson, recently became a certified master HVAC educator. In order to do this, they have to pass 7 disciplines and receive 80% or higher score. There was no promotion in this. There was no monetary gain for him. He did it for the intrinsic value, how most of our instructors do. But what really stunned me about this is that there's only 2 master HVAC educators in the state of Tennessee, one at Shelbyville, and then Terry, who passed this at McKenzie. And even more surprising to me, there's only 55 in the United States, and we have 2 of them in the TTC. So I guess shows their interest and commitment to what they do, but very proud of his accomplishment and all of the TTC's accomplishment and what they've done. Would like to thank Dr. McCamey for their graciousness. His staff and students have been most gracious while we've been here on campus, and their hospitality. I want to thank him for that. And that concludes my report. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Director White. Are there any questions? Hearing none, thanks for the report. Next, we will have the report of the 2-year schools that will be given today by Dr. Jim Catanzaro. Excuse me.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Chairman Duckett, Regents, and Chancellor Morgan and colleagues. Great to be with you today. It's easy to talk about community colleges today because we're in a great community college. Wade McCamey and his people, I think, demonstrated the excellence of community colleges in Tennessee, and certainly right here at Walters State. Just an outstanding job this morning, Wade. We appreciate that. And if you want to find out what the other community colleges are doing, very well, I hope you'll consult this report that was prepared by Vice Chancellor Nichols. It's just excellent. The 2 reports that we're going to give today, one is from Chattanooga State and one is from Northeast State. And the Chattanooga State one is about the Bellwether Award. It's the national award for the best program of its kind in the nation. And this year we won the award for the best workforce preparation, workforce training program in the United States. We actually started out thinking about what we do with TVA, 4 degrees specifically for the nuclear energy industry. And then we thought about our affiliation with Volkswagen. We last year did over 200 and 7,000 hours of training for Volkswagen last year. But we actually ended up talking about our program called the Wacker Institute for Wacker Chemical, making a $2 billion investment in Southeast Tennessee right now as we speak. And so to introduce the Wacker Institute, let me introduce to you the director, who is our professor of engineering, and that's Dr. George Graham.
Good morning, Regents and Chancellor. I'm so honored to be here today to talk to you about the great honor that Chattanooga State received in obtaining the Bellwether Award for Workforce Development. Only 55 Bellwether Awards have been awarded in the 20-year history of the Bellwether Award. And so it is a great honor. And when we were presenting our Bellwether Award, we were competing with large college systems. The Los Alamos system in Texas, over 50,000 students, and another presenter was the North Carolina Community and Technical College system. So we had some stiff competition, and we were very honored to be awarded this award. The Wacker Institute is a 26,000 square foot facility at Chattanooga State constructed for the purpose of education of chemical engineering technicians for Wacker polysilicon, which is being built in Charleston, Tennessee, very near Chattanooga State's campus. What you're looking at here is the crown jewel of the Wacker Institute, which is our 8,000 square foot chemical pilot plant. This is the largest educational pilot plant in the entire world, and also the only educational pilot plant in the world that's made of all glass. If you'll notice on the far left, you can see a tank that has some blue liquid in it. That's an example of the glass plant, which enables our students to actually see what's going on inside the processes that they're going to be learning how to use. This pilot plant is a 1/10 scale model of the distillation processes that the students will actually be running at the Wacker polysilicon plant. Again, all the glass piping and vessels enable the students to see the chemical processes that are going on. We've color-coded all the chemicals in the processes to make them visual. The water is colored blue, the ethanol is clear, the ethylene glycol is colored red. So as the students are learning the chemical processes, they can actually see by color the separation taking place. The students are also learning to start up, operate, and shut down the process with the same control system that they will be using when they get to their actual jobs at the Wacker chemical plant. We run the pilot plant, even though in our educational environment, we run it just like they're going to run their jobs at work. The students have productivity goals. They have to make so many liters per hour to be successful, and they have quality goals. They have to meet the quality requirements that our faculty have set on the outcomes. The things that will be necessary for the students to enable the profitability of their enterprise when they go to work for Wacker. It's a very rigorous education program. This was mandated by our German colleagues. Our German colleagues in their dual education program or apprenticeship model programs, where students start as early as age 16 in a combination of classroom, laboratory, and on-the-job training. They demanded a mastery of competencies. It's also a blended program with 50% theory, 50% hands-on learning. Our program is delivered by faculty who are engineering practitioners, most of which have over 20 years of chemical industry experience. What we learned, success in this program required a blend of the German best practices combined with American education best practices, engineering technology education, and general education to produce what's truly been an outstanding outcome. So another thing that has been so remarkable about the program is our linkage with our industrial partner, combined with group or cohort-based learning, where students complete the program in groups together working in teams, working in a work-like atmosphere, has enabled us to have an 88% persistence rate. For engineering technology programs, this is over 4 times the national average persistence rate for these students. I remember when I started engineering school a long time ago, faculty were proud to tell you that look at 4 people around you, only one of you is going to get an engineering degree. Well, we don't accept that model. So here we have improved persistence rate by 4 times over the national average for our standard track AAS degree seeking students, and over 3 times the national average for our fast track or technical certificate seeking students. Again, we'd just like to thank you very much for the honor to be here and present our program to you today. I'd like to ask if there are any questions.
Any questions?
Well, let me tell you one great result. I went to Germany last year, right at this time, visited the first group of our students, 51 of them. When they arrived, the Germans were sure that they were going to be behind their students, and so they had assigned mentors to them. When I met with our students and when I met with German executives, they told me with great surprise and somewhat with some embarrassment that all of our students, 51 students, were ahead of every single German student, and that they needed no mentors. They were going to be the mentors. So we were delighted with the outcome. And we thank Dr. Graham for his excellent work. And now Dr. Janice Gilliam will present the Northeast story.
Thank you, Jim. It's good to be with you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Vice Chairman Duckett, Chancellor Morgan, Regents, guests, and my thanks again to Wade McCamey and his staff for a great job here. It's my honor to share with you just some of the accomplishments of our college and our students, and we're going to do that through a short video. Just want to introduce our speakers in this video. Our Vice President for Workforce Development, Jeff McCord, and he's here with us. If you'll stand, just say hello, introduce you to him. Jane Honeycutt is our PTK advisor and just doing an outstanding job and won several awards at the International Phi Theta Kappa Conference. And one of our outstanding students, Beth Ross, who was also honored internationally in several awards for our chapter, and also Jack Cook Scholarship recipient. So now for a short video.
What makes the RCAM and the partnerships around RCAM, the corporate partnerships around RCAM, unique and probably worthy, or definitely worthy of national recognition, is really 3 things that RCAM centers itself on. The first is meeting the needs of our current employers with matching skilled people with the jobs that are available. And the second is educational outreach. And the educational outreach means that we reach back to high school and even middle school to introduce students to these careers and these technical fields that allow them to understand what they need to do and expose them to it. We build catapults, we do AMP camps, we do a lot of different things to give them an idea of where they might want to go and the option that they have that they might not have known before. And the third aspect is economic development, and economic development goes hand in hand with workforce development. But again, as jobs grow, the economy grows, as money is spent, it allows other jobs to come in and the community to rise, and more money to give to your church or to give to your favorite charity, or like I say, to go to a movie. But all of that centers around making the students successful, both in the programs and in finding a job after the programs. And that is underpinned and supported by the partnership that we have with Eastman Chemical Company. And really and truly, that's the essence of why we have this recognition with AACC, is that partnership and that focus on the core principles that we're trying to do, wrapped around making students successful.
Phi Theta Kappa is an international organization, and each college participating has its own chapter. And our chapter is Alpha Iota Chi. I'm the lead advisor, but I have co-advisors that help me tremendously over the course of the year. Dana Smithers in the math department and Miriam Phillips in the speech department are my main co-advisors, but Andrea Fry also helps. She sort of volunteers. She does a lot helping us when we're writing up our Hallmark submissions at the end of the year. She looks over them to make sure that we have done all we need to do on that level. So we get a lot of support. The biggest thing that the larger faculty does for us is to inform students of the legitimacy and the opportunity that Phi Theta Kappa offers. Sometimes students misunderstand and think it's a sorority or fraternity, or that it's a scam, that people are just trying to get your money and all of this kind of thing. And so when instructors take the time at the beginning of class, when it's time for enrollment, to tell students of the opportunity, they really help the students and us to grow.
I decided when I had the opportunity to come back to school that I wanted to impact my community and I wanted to impact the world around me. And that was really my driving force. I wanted to be an example to my children and let them see the type of person that I wanted them to be when they grew up. So I came to Northeast State and I got involved in many different student organizations, the main one being Phi Theta Kappa, and they teach you to be a servant and scholar leader, and that's the values that I tried to live by, which not only helped me build my resume, but it helped me impact my community while here at Northeast State.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to serve the Tennessee Board of Regents. Thank you.
Well, just let me say one word about Ralph Robbins. We're going to miss him very much, and also Shirley Raines. So I don't know that it'll be the same after these two people depart us. Ralph is known, yes, for speaking out. We love it that he does, and of course Shirley is an exemplary leader. So we'll miss them. That's the report from our community colleges.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Next, we have the report of the four-year institutions that will be given by Dr. Brian Nolan. Dr. Nolan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Chancellor Morgan, members of the board. Good morning. It's good to have you in East Tennessee. Today is a beautiful day in East Tennessee. Get out and enjoy the mountains, enjoy the time here, but also take time to look around this beautiful campus. I want to thank Dr. McCamey and his team not only for hosting us today, but the spirit of partnership that's exemplified across all the institutions in the board system in East Tennessee. From Walter State to Northeast State to ETSU, it's a seamless system that integrates learning opportunities for students. You see it here, you see it at RCAM, which was mentioned, but we welcome you back to East Tennessee in the near and distant future. I want to frame my comments today around the three pillars that define your university system. That's teaching, research, and service. I'm going to keep my comments brief because there's a great deal of information on your agenda that you have to move through this morning. I want to begin with the University of Memphis. The University of Memphis recently received a $770,000 grant from the Department of Education to conduct an intensive training program for principals and school administrators. This award will serve administrators in Southwest Tennessee, focusing on curriculum alignment, teaching materials, and strategies to improve teacher performance. There's been a great deal of attention nationally on teacher education this week. Flawed reports have highlighted areas of concern, but I think as you see what's happening at Memphis and also what's happening across the institution I'm going to spotlight next, Tennessee Tech, There's great work occurring in your universities to prepare teachers to enter the workforce. At Tennessee Tech, through the Oakley STEM Center, the institution's working to support professional development of teachers. TTU offers a series of specialized workshops that provide training, resources, and support through a partnership with Texas Instruments aimed at enhancing math education in the Upper Cumberland. With respect to service and research, Tennessee State University received a $330,000 grant to support U.S. counterinsurgency efforts. This award will allow TSU faculty to develop enhanced technologies aimed at improving the capabilities of automated surveillance systems. Students, while we're here, are spotlighted at MTSU. Students at Middle were recognized among the best in the nation in the fields of marketing and advertising. MTSU students brought home top honors for their campaign proposal to promote natural gas as a clean domestic energy source. This is just one example of the great work that's occurring across the system to prepare students as they transition to the workforce. Those students are recognized as among the best in the nation, as exemplified at Austin Peay State University, where 2 students, and APSU was the only institution in the state of Tennessee to have 2 students receive the Goldwater Scholarship. Chris Hayes and Kristen Knight this year received the prestigious Goldwater Award, which provides support for students to pursue their dreams in science and mathematics. And finally, in the research area at ETSU, a faculty member, Dr. Robert Pack, just recently received recognition of a $2.5 million award to help combat prescription drug abuse across East Tennessee. This award will be coupled with an event that will hold on campus later this fall, where we'll bring together district attorneys from 4 states to help develop strategies to fight prescription drug abuse that plagues Appalachia. Mr. Chair, I want to close with a moment of personal privilege to thank someone who I've had the opportunity to sit next to this morning, but more importantly, I've had the opportunity to learn from for more than a decade, and that's President Shirley Raines. I know you're going to recognize her later in the meeting, but she has provided great guidance, direction, and mentorship to not only myself, but all the presidents across the system. We're going to miss her, but we welcome her back to East Tennessee as she's going to retire and make her home in Oak Ridge. Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments, and be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Nolan. Are there any questions from members?
Yes, I have one, please.
Yes.
The surgical Chloe, is she selling well? Is that a success?
Yeah, not only is she selling well, yesterday I had the opportunity to watch a YouTube video of surgical Chloe being used in a classroom setting in Russia. Dr. Martin Eason is the faculty member who developed that in conjunction with Bill Hemphill, a faculty member in our College of Engineering Technology. So those 2 individuals have developed a birthing simulator. It's quite amazing, and I'd be happy to share the YouTube clip of it being used in Russia.
I'm just interested in the price range.
Price range off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's probably not marketed high enough in the marketplace.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Nolan. We move now to unfinished business, and there is no unfinished business that on the agenda. As such, we will move to new business. First item of which is the report of the Finance and Business Operations Committee meeting on June 20th, 2013. That includes approval of tuition and maintenance fees and approval of the funding for operations for the 2013-2014 fiscal year. That information was discussed yesterday and at several special called meetings of the Finance and Business Operations Committee meeting. I will call on Regent Farris at this time, who is the chair of that committee, for any additional comments as well as to make a motion to approve this item. Regent Farris.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Duckett. The Finance and Business Operations Committee met in special session on Tuesday, June the 4th, to review and recommend approval of tuition and maintenance fees for the fiscal year 2013-2014. After multiple meetings over the last 6 months, the committee recommendation before you takes into account the financial condition of our institutions, including the cumulative effects of several years of state funding reductions and the implementation of both the new outcome funding formula and removal of the hold harmless provision of the old formula. Before I summarize the committee's report, I'd like to ask Chancellor Morgan if he has any comments.
No, Mr. Chairman, other than thank the committee and particularly those who worked with the committee, Dale and Renee, for the work they did. It's never particularly easy to make decisions to raise tuition and fees at our institutions, but I think the committee did a very good job of sorting through and evaluating what is in the best interest of the institutions and the people we serve.
Thank you. For the universities, the committee has recommended maintenance fee adjustments which vary among the institutions based upon an institutional need. At Austin Peay, there would be a 3% increase, at ETSU 4.6%, MTSU 5.7%, TSU 1.4%, TTU 6%, and the University of Memphis 6%. Community colleges, the recommendations by the committee are intended to increase maintenance fee and tuition revenues by 3%. There'll be no change in maintenance fees recommended by the committee for technology centers. The professional schools, University of Memphis Law School would have a 6% increase, the ETSU College of Medicine a 4% increase, and the ETSU Pharmacy School 4% increase. As part of the committee report, we also considered a recommendation of the funding for operations for fiscal years 2012, 2013, and 2013 and 2014. And as part of the committee report, you've been provided with the operating budget for the system, which totals $2.9 billion for the fiscal year 2012, 2013, and $2.84 billion for fiscal year 2013-14, which were recommended for approval at yesterday's committee meeting. This budget is based on the level of state funds recommended in the governor's proposed budget, as well as early estimates of factors such as enrollment growth, research activities, and availability of federal funds. The full effect of the approved fee increases and any enrollment changes will be included in the October revised budget, which we'll get later this year. As committee chair, I move the board approve the report of the June 20, 2013 meeting of the Committee on Finance and Business Operations, which includes the consent agenda items, tuition and maintenance fee recommendations for 2013-14, and the operating budgets for both fiscal year 2012-13 and 2013-14 as presented. And I believe this requires a roll call vote, Mr. Chairman.
That is correct. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
It is second by Regent Griscom. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Regent Copeland.
Aye.
Regent Duckett.
Aye.
Regent Ferris.
Aye.
Regent Freeman.
Aye.
Regent Griscom.
Aye.
Regent Humphrey.
Aye.
Regent Johnson.
Aye.
Regent Markham.
Aye.
Regent Montgomery.
Aye.
Regent Raines.
Aye.
Regent Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Roddy.
Aye.
Regent Thomas.
Aye.
And Regent Varlin.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and thank you, members of the board, because a lot of time and effort has gone into that, and I know this has been a difficult and challenging issue, but I appreciate all the thoughtfulness that went into the development of that action. Next item on the agenda is the report of the Personnel and Compensation Committee meeting on June 20th, 2013. That includes faculty promotional increases, approval of the system compensation plan recommendations, and the cost of living allowance. I will call on Regent Montgomery for the presentation and a motion.
Thanks, Vice Chair Duckett. And first, let me say thanks to Vice Chancellor Sims and Ms. April Preston for their work here with us on this, in our committee work. We have before us today the report of the June 20th meeting on personnel compensation, which includes the approval of the President Emeritus contracts, tenure and promotion recommendations at the universities, community colleges, and technology centers. That's 170 faculty for tenure, 340 faculty for promotions. Approval of institutional requests for new or amended compensation for East Tennessee State University, Northeast State Community College, Pellissippi State Community College, and Tennessee State University, as well as the approval of the system-wide compensation strategies for all institutions, and the approval of the executive performance incentive plan for the executives of our institutions. I move for approval of the meeting minutes and the recommended actions at this point.
Second.
It has been moved by Regent Montgomery, second by Regent Varlin, for the approval of the aforementioned items. This is an item that requires a roll call vote. However, prior to the roll call, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Regent Copeland.
Aye.
Regent Duckett.
Aye.
Regent Ferris.
Aye.
Regent Freeman.
Aye.
Regent Griscom.
Aye.
Regent Humphrey.
Aye.
Regent Johnson. Regent Markham. Regent Montgomery.
Aye.
Regent Raines.
Aye.
Regent Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Roddy.
Aye.
Regent Thomas.
Aye.
And Regent Varlin.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the report of the Tennessee Technology Center's committee report, committee meeting on June 20th, 2013. That includes a recommendation for the new director at TTC Livingston. I call on Regent Varlin for that report.
Yes, the committee approved program proposals and academic actions, and I need to ask the vice chair, do I need to go through each of those? Okay.
For the record, yes.
This included implementation of Health Information Technology Program at Paris, implementation of a Health Information Technology Program at Whiteville, the implementation of Machine Tool Technology Program at Morristown at the Greenville Center, the implementation of Industrial Electricity Program at Morristown at the Greenville Center, the implementation of Industrial Maintenance Program with HVAC component, which is at Oneida, the implementation of a dual enrollment industrial technology education program at Ripley, the implementation of patient care technician program at Knoxville at Strawberry Plains, and the implementation of industrial maintenance program at Knoxville, also at Strawberry Plains. The implementation of a dual enrollment automotive technology program at Hartsville at the Tri-County Vocational Center, the implementation of graphic design and web development technology at Murfreesboro, the implementation of health science program at Pulaski at the Spot Low Vocational Center at Marshall County High School, a modification of the practical nursing program at McMinnville by adding an online hybrid program, the inactivation of computer information systems online at Athens, as well as inactivation of drafting and CAD online at Athens, the inactivation of general building trades at Jackson, inactivation of computer information systems online at McMinnville, as well as the inactivation of drafting and CAD online at McMinnville, and the inactivation of tool and die at McMinnville. A relocation of computer operating systems and network technology from the Spot Low High School Vocational Center to the main campus, and a decrease in the hours from 1,728 to 1,296. The renaming of solar photovoltaic technology program at Pulaski to, thank God, residential, commercial, electrician, and green technology, and a change of hours to 1,296. I kind of know why you did that. The inactivation of residential commercial wiring and plumbing at Pulaski at the Northville site, and the changing of the name of computer information technology at Livingston to information technology, and the inactivation of barbering at Nashville. So do these require a vote, or?
Yes, they do.
Okay. And then my second question is, does this come with the vote for the director? Okay, so we will include with this. The last item which we addressed was the recommendation to appoint Dr. Myra West as the next director of the Tennessee Technology Center at Livingston. And so I will make a motion that we accept all of these.
I second that.
Okay.
It's been motioned by Regent Varlin, second by Regent Raines. Any discussion?
I wanted to ask Regent Varlin to read that again, please.
Thank you. I should have asked that before we started. Yes.
There are no further questions. This matter can be approved by a voice vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed is the same. Motion is approved, and let me welcome Ms. Myra West as the new TTC Director of Livingston. Next item is a notice to the board regarding a change to our bylaws. Chancellor Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 12 of the TBR bylaws requires prior notice for contemplated changes and then action by the board at the next regular scheduled meeting. So my purpose this morning is to give you notice of a potential change to the bylaws that will reflect the name change of the Committee on Tennessee Technology Centers to the Committee on Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology. There's no action required today, but that will be on your agenda for the September meeting.
Okay. Next, we have the naming of the tennis complex at East Tennessee State University. Chancellor Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Upon recommendation of a campus committee appointed in compliance with our TBR policy on the naming of buildings and facilities, President Nolan is requesting that the new tennis complex on the East Tennessee State University campus be named the David Mullins Tennis Complex. This naming is in recognition of David Mullins, who recently retired as the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics at ETSU. Mr. Mullins is ETSU's longest-serving athletic director, who also served as a men's tennis coach for 15 years. Mr. Chairman, it's my recommendation that the tennis complex at East Tennessee State University be named the David Mullins Tennis Complex.
Thank you, Chancellor Morgan. You've heard the recommendation of Chancellor Morgan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Regent Roddy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Regent Montgomery. Any discussion? Hearing none, this item can be approved by a voice vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed is the same. Motion is approved. I call on President Nolan if you would like to make any additional comments.
Thank you. Dave Mullins has provided outstanding leadership in the Board of Regents system. He was a faculty and staff member of my own state before coming to ETSU. We're going to miss him, but we thank you for the recognition of his service.
Thank you, Dr. Nolan. Next, we have the naming of the Health Sciences Complex at Volunteer State Community College. Chancellor Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Upon the recommendation of a campus committee, also appointed in compliance with the TBR policy on the naming of buildings and facilities, President Faulkner is requesting that the new health science complex under construction, which is complementary and physically connected to the existing health science building, which was named by this board in 1999, the Dr. John Wallace Health Sciences Building, be renamed to again honor and in memory of Dr. John B. Wallace, a renowned and beloved physician in Gallatin. Dr. Wallace was a Gallatin native, practiced general medicine and obstetrics in Gallatin, and distinguished himself as a committed civil servant. He was a major benefactor to the college and the foundation. Vol State has received a total of $3 million from Dr. Wallace's estate. Mr. Chairman, it's my recommendation that the Health Sciences Complex at Volunteer State be named the Dr. John B. Wallace Health Sciences Complex north, and south.
You've heard the recommendation of Chancellor Morgan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Regent Varlin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Regent Thomas. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion is approved. President Faulkner. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much for that action. Dr. Wallace was a beloved physician in the Sumner County community, great civic leader, and it's been an honor his desire and his state to improve the quality of health here within the Sumner County area.
Thank you. We move to resolutions of appreciations, and at this time, I would call on Regent Bob Thomas to present our first resolution of appreciation.
Thank you, Vice Chair Duckett. A resolution of appreciation for the service of Dr. Bob Raines as Faculty Regent for the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas the Tennessee Board of Regents in regular session at Walter State Community College in Morristown, Tennessee, wishes to express its sincere appreciation to Dr. Bob Raines for his service as Faculty Regent. And whereas he was appointed to this position by the Honorable Bill Haslam, Governor of the State of Tennessee, for the 2012-2013 academic year, and whereas he has fulfilled his responsibilities in an exemplary manner by contributing to the governance of the institutions within the purview of the board by sharing his concerns for the faculty within the board system and for educational quality, and whereas he has provided leadership, guidance, and expertise to the board in the areas of articulation and student life, and has represented his colleagues and students of the TBR system with unwavering and distinguished service, and whereas he has used his experiences to devote considerable time, effort, and perspective as a member of the Committee on Academic Policies and Programs and the Tennessee Technology Centers Committee, and whereas during his tenure with the board, he unfailingly fulfilled his responsibilities through active participation in board deliberations and contributed greatly to the governance of the system, and whereas he is an individual of high integrity and wisdom with truly a sincere interest in the welfare of the Tennessee Board of Regents system and Tennessee higher education, and whereas his tenure has been marked by selfless support of the system and a number of its individual institutions, and whereas he wrote a letter to the board expressing his appreciation for being able to serve, and we appreciate that very much, Dr. Raines. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents system expresses its sincere appreciation to Dr. Bob Raines for his dedication and contributions to the board and its institutions, and we extend to you our best wishes for your future.
Thank you very much. I really thought about bringing my guitar and playing The Thrill Is Gone. My wife, who has much better social judgment than I have, said, just don't do that. I would like to say it's been an honor and a privilege to serve as the faculty regent for the last year. As I said in my letter to you all, at a time when criticizing public servants is fashionable, what I have observed this year is a professional, hardworking, highly competent board staff. I'm glad to know that Sanja has some good help up in Nashville. In Jackson, that's what we say, everything happens up in Nashville. I'd also like to thank my fellow regents for their service as well. This is truly important work, and your sincerity and diligence are appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Raines. I was glad that Regent Thomas acknowledged the personal letter that you sent to all the regions, because I was prepared to do so, because it's a testament to the commitment that you have made, as well as your commitment not just to the Board of Regents but to higher ed. And as I said in my note back to you, I personally appreciate the time that you have spent on the board, as well as to send us that note, and I think I speak for all of my colleagues. And before Mary taps me on my hand, I guess there is one technical requirement, and that is the resolution that you read is a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor of approving that resolution signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposes, same sign. Thank you. Congratulations again. Next, we have a resolution of appreciation to President Shirley Raines, and that will be presented by Regent John Ferris.
It's a great honor for me to read this resolution and to make this motion as a graduate of the University of Memphis. This is a resolution of appreciation for the service of Dr. Shirley C. Raines from the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas Dr. Shirley C. Raines was named the 11th President of the University of Memphis on July 1, 2001, and whereas under her tenure as President, the University of Memphis has earned numerous national accolades, including being named to the President's Community Service Honor Roll, being recognized as one of the top 10 internship programs by U.S. News & World Report, being ranked by Washington Monthly for social mobility research and service, and for having several of its graduate programs nationally ranked. And whereas under her leadership, the University of Memphis has grown to over 22,000 students and now has the largest honors program in the state. And whereas annual research funding at the University of Memphis has grown 53%, while she has been president and now exceeds $633 million. And whereas she has overseen fundraising efforts that have resulted in total giving to the university of more than $270 million, or as she says, $250 million, not 270, $250 million, including a successful Empowering the Dream Centennial Campaign program. And whereas she has overseen the creation of the Memphis Research Consortium and the Coalition for Advanced Networking, and whereas she has expanded and improved facilities across campus, including the construction of a new university center, an honors residence hall, the FedEx Institute of Technology, the Kimmons Wilson School of Hospitality and Resort Management, the Anthony Hardaway Hall of Fame, a new athletic training facility, the Students Activities Plaza, and we just broke ground on the health building just a month or so ago. Whereas she has also overseen the addition of the Lambeth campus in Jackson and the relocation of the Cecil C. Humphrey School of Law to its current historic downtown location, and whereas she has implemented new strategies to encourage student success, such as living, learning communities, cohort groups such as Fresh Connections, enhanced study abroad opportunities, and student leadership training efforts, and whereas she will complete 12 years of exemplary and dedicated service on June 30, 2013, and whereas the Tennessee Board of Regents grants President Emeritus status to Dr. Shirley C. Raines for her steadfast and continuous support of the system, and now therefore be it resolved that the Tennessee Board of Regents expresses its sincere appreciation to Dr. Raines for her outstanding contributions and leadership to the system, the Memphis community, and just everyone down in that region. We wish her the very best, and I move adoption of the resolution.
You've heard the resolution and the motion. Is there a second? Second by Regent Markham. Any discussions or questions?
Yes, Vice Chairman Duckett, I recently was informed that during the 12 years that Dr. Raines has been president of the University of Memphis, she has not missed but one of our board meetings in 12 years. And I'm not sure what was the reason she missed one, but in my 8 years, over 8 years on this board, I'll have to say no president could come close to that record. And for that, she's to be congratulated. That's all.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. President Raines.
I feel like I just won the Academy Award. Thank you so much. Vice Chairman Duckett and Regents and Chancellor Morgan. And I have to tell you, Jack Campbell and Wade McCamey, that I had my very first board meeting at Walters State Community College 12 years ago. So I have come home, come full cycle. But it has been a pleasure. When I was named president, Don Sundquist was governor, Jack Fishman was vice chair, and Charles Manning was the chancellor. On that day, NPR had a story about the Tennessee Board of Regents and Chancellor Manning for his first appointments as president, and he named two women on the same day, Sherry Hoppy at Austin Peay State University and Shirley Raines, and I always tease Sherry that they mentioned me first in the story, so I was really the first woman. I appreciate Chancellor Morgan for keeping me on after he became chancellor. I've had the privilege of working with some extraordinary vice chancellors: Jack Fishman, Stanley Rogers, Fran Markham, Bob Thomas, and of course, Greg Duckett. And I have to give special appreciation to some regents from Memphis who come to all those events. You know how we ask them to everything. Of course, our beloved Maxine Smith, who was on the search committee that selected me, and Bill Watkins, and now John Ferris and Greg Duckett. Thank you for coming to all those events and for supporting us, and all of us, and me especially. I can say unequivocally that John Morgan has an extraordinary professional group of vice chancellors who serve the state extremely well. And I would say to you, extraordinary staff members, particularly Phyllis Anderson and Sonja Mason, who create a sense of colleagueship and are consummate professionals. And all of these people, staff and vice chancellors, say, how can we help and what can we do? Even though they do tell me no occasionally. Especially Vice Chancellor Sims is glad I'm gone because I won't ask him so many questions about the budget and why he's doing this way or that. But, Dale, I still love you. I also want to thank you for appointing extraordinary colleague presidents. The state is very fortunate to have these presidents of these universities, community colleges, and directors of the technology centers, and I appreciate that we're all in this together for the sake of students in Tennessee. I came home to Tennessee from the University of Kentucky, that other blue school, to be a part of what was going on in Tennessee, and I'm grateful for 12 years of being able to be a part of that. I could not have been a part of it had it not been for 3 community college presidents in particular, and I want to thank Nate Essex from Southwest, Karen Boyer from Dyersburg State, and Bruce Blanding for being true partners, because at the University of Memphis, we accept as many transfer students every year as we do beginning freshmen. So we are examples of what you are trying to accomplish in the Regent system. So for that partnership, I am very grateful on behalf of our students. And I want to say every person I've named and everyone in these categories are very dedicated public servants, and I'm grateful that you are, that you've given your time and your energy and your efforts, and to the rest of you who've given your careers to this, what I think is a sacred endeavor, helping people to broaden their minds and learn and become great citizens of this state and the world. 12 years is a long time to serve as a university president, especially if you have athletics like mine. Even with our extraordinary athletics. I'm appreciative that you appointed me as President Emeritus. I already have lots of people who want me to do things for them in Memphis and at the university, but foremost, I will help Interim President Brad Martin, who has asked for my assistance, and I will also help the next permanent president, whomever she or he may be. I also have been asked to continue my work with 4 of the major foundations in Memphis, and that will be my President Emeritus work, and I can assure you that I'll bring more money in than you pay me. But I will forever be grateful to you for the joys and the challenges of 12 years. And every single day has been joy and challenge, and some day more challenge and some days more joy. But I appreciate that. And I will tell you what I said to one reporter who said, "What's your favorite day?" And I said, "My favorite day is always graduation day." To look out and to see the thousands of students, now over 4,000 a year, that we will graduate, and to know what a difference our university has made. So thank you for 12 years, but for being my great supporters and friends, and for being a part of this great endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Raines. You will truly be missed in your current capacity, but knowing you as I do, you will continue to be involved in the Memphis and the higher ed community, and I'm personally appreciative of that, as well as personally appreciative of the professional relationship that we have been able to develop. Thank you. Next, we have a resolution of appreciation for Director Ralph Robbins, and that will be presented by Regent Steve Copeland.
Yes, thank you. It's a great honor today for me to propose a resolution for appreciation for the service of Mr. Ralph Robbins to the Tennessee Board of Regents. Whereas Mr. Ralph Robbins has faithfully served the Tennessee Technological Center at Livingston as director since 1980, and whereas he is a native of Tennessee and graduated from Middle Tennessee State University in 1970 with a BS degree in distributive agriculture, and is an honored member of Alpha Gamma Rho fraternal organization, and whereas he taught physical education at Livingston Elementary in Livingston, Tennessee from 1970 until 73, and served as chancellor at Livingston State Area Vocational Technical School from 73 until 1980, providing 43 years of service in the field of education in Tennessee. And whereas he was instrumental in the development of the first articulation agreement between a TTC and community college, and has worked diligently to provide seamless transition opportunities from high school to TCs to community colleges to universities, and whereas he has served in numerous leadership roles with the Tennessee Board of Regents, to include serving as chairman of TTC's Directors Executive Subcouncil, interim director for the TTC at Hartsville in 1998, on the TTC Compensation Study Committee, and the TTC Promotion and Tenure Committee, and as chair of the TTC Collision Repair Technology, drafting and CAD technology, and building construction technology curriculum committees, and whereas he was a member of JC's, president of the Overton County UT Agriculture Extension Board, Farm Credit Service Mid-American Board, Overton County Chamber of Commerce Board, Workforce Investment Board SDA 7, Overton County Farmers Co-op Board, Livingston Regional Hospital Board of Directors, Overton County Industrial Development Board, Overton Pickett County 9/11 Board, Rural Development Committee in Overton County, Chairman of the Adult Basic Education Advisory Committee, Career and Technology Advisory Committees for Livingston Academy High School, recipient of the 1998 Rural Development Committee Annual Service Award, and honored with the Overton County Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Citizen Award in 2013. And whereas he was instrumental in promoting the legislation that changed the names of the Tennessee Technological Center to the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, and whereas he shall be missed by fellow colleagues, faculty, staff, students, community leaders, and alumni of the Tennessee Technological Centers at Livingston, now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Tennessee Board of Regents wishes to recognize the outstanding career of Mr. Ralph Robbins and express appreciation for her superb leadership. And Mr. Chairman, before I move for this approval of the resolution, I'd like to add something personal, if I may.
Most definitely.
Ralph Robbins has been a friend of mine all of our lives. His mother was my first grade teacher, in fact. And I want to just tell you something about him that's so personal, and it says so much about you, Ralph. I recently lost my 96-year-old mother. And I'm going to suggest for the last 20 years, this man has driven out into the county several miles once every month or two just to visit with her, just because he wanted to. And it tells you something about this individual, and it's certainly special to me to know he would do that. And when I would go visit her, she'd say, well, Ralph came by this week. And it just, and they were both Republicans, so therefore they have a lot in common. And she's so appreciated that. And I thank the board for allowing me to share that, because Ralph, you're special. I honor you and respect you so very, very much, and thank you for all you did for my mother. Having said that, I would move to approve the resolution.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Regent Thomas. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is the same sign. Motion is approved. Director Roberts.
Chairman Duckett, Chancellor Morgan, Steve, and the rest of the board, I appreciate those words, and I guess about the best thing I can say, if you get old enough, a lot of things, you'll do a lot of things, so I've been around a long time. Seen a lot of changes. I think that the most important thing that ever happened to the technology centers was 1983, when we were put on the Board of Regents. Prior to that, I'd been to state board meetings and so on, because I've been, like I said, I've been there a long time. Come home from the state board meeting and somebody said, well, how was it? And my first statement was, I'm amazed that we're as far along as we are, because we got about 15 minutes. We weren't important to them. And finally, they changed us to the Board of Regents in 1983, and the first meeting that I went to, I was asked the same question. I think we've died and gone to heaven. And I still feel that way. It's been one of the best things. I feel like we're part of higher education. We do a lot of things for our students that other people can't do, and our students go to work. For a number of years, we've been placed in about 90% of them, and it's very important what we do. I think the name change is going to help us get better students. I think the name change is going to bring us forward, especially with high school counselors that send students to us. I think it's very important that we have college in our name, because I think they'll send them to us instead of sending them to private schools, which everybody knows cost a fortune. We see students every day come to our campus that owe thousands and thousands of dollars that are trying to come back and go to school and get a trade so they can go to work and pay that off. So again, thank you, the board. It's been great. It's been 33 great years as director. I've been at the school for 40 years. And I told John one day, I don't think I've ever went to work a day in my life. I truly enjoyed every day of it. Still do. I've got one more week, and I promise you next Friday at 4 o'clock, I'll leave. I'll be there all day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you again, Director Robbins. Next item on the agenda is one of those that I actually have to preface by saying, oh, how time flies when you're having fun, because it's time for us to elect the chairman and vice chair for the Tennessee Board of Regents. And under our bylaws, the vice chair can only serve 2 successive terms. And as such, I would call on Regent Markham for a recommendation and nomination for chair and vice chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. And before I make that nomination, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and take time to thank you for your service to this board.
Thank you.
We've been told that you have another job, but we don't believe it, because you take this job so very seriously, and you dedicate time and attention and detail to it, and we appreciate the passion and energy that you have taken and put into the 2.5 years that you have served this board, and we'd like to thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you. I appreciate that. Thanks.
And at this time, I respectfully nominate Governor Bill Haslam to serve as chairman of the Tennessee Board of Regents, and further nominate Regent Emily Reynolds to serve as vice chair for the coming year, 2013, and further to show support from this board, nominate them by acclamation.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
The record will reflect that there were multiple seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion for chairman being Governor Bill Haslam and Vice Chair Emily Reynolds, signify by aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Regent Reynolds.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Greg. I am very honored and humbled to have this opportunity. I'm just so proud to be on this team. This is an exceptional group of people. And thank you, Regent Markham, for placing my name in nomination. Just as Regent Markham said, Regent Duckett has not only had 2 successive years as our chairman, he's had 2 very successful terms as our chairman. And so I recognize that I follow in very big footsteps. To the Chancellor and the team, thank you again for putting up with me the last 3 years that I've been on this board. You all are extraordinary, and it's been a remarkable experience. And of course, to our governor, who drives all of us each and every day to drive to 55. We appreciate and respect his vision, and it's the work of this board that will enable all of us, as President Rain said, because we're all in this together, to reach those lofty goals. You know, I was reminded this morning as we watched the remarkable video from Walter State, and it's certainly reflected in all of the presentations and videos we saw this morning, what inspires us, what drives us, and I know the passion that each member of this board feels is providing a quality education, improving access across our great state. Education is the key to improving the quality of life in this state. And so I appreciate everyone's commitment here. I'm honored by this opportunity, and we've got a lot of work to do. So I look forward to continuing this opportunity and challenge. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, and again, congratulations, and it goes without saying, we all, by virtue of the vote, look forward to continuing to work with you and continuing the mission and purpose of the Tennessee Board of Regents. At this time, there being no further business to come before the board, I would adjourn the meeting and remind everyone that the September meeting will be held at Austin Peay State University, which is in Clarksville, Tennessee. The committee meetings will begin after lunch on that Thursday, September 19th, with the full board meeting being Friday, September 20th. Remind the board members that we're going to take a photo immediately after we adjourn, and Sandra has shared with me that we're going to take that photo right in front of the ferns here, so don't make a mass exit for your cars, helicopters, Mr. Freeman, or otherwise. I want to thank Dr. McCamey again and his team because you guys have done a tremendous job. Chancellor Morgan, any?
Just a couple of things. I'd like to thank Carol Tomlinson, who works with us every meeting to make sure that things go the way they should go, and particularly also to Matthew Gann, who developed the TBR app that has allowed us now to, hold it up now.
Yeah, that's right.
I got one. That's progress. Have allowed us to move toward a near paperless board meeting. This is our first experience on a campus with that. And it's only possible because of the work that Matthew has done. And as always, Sanjay and Phyllis, thank you for making this work.
There being no further business to come before the board meeting is adjourned. Thanks all.
All right, another good meeting.
Yes, I did.